The Switch 2 is somehow 6 months old now. That fact is insane to me because the lead up to this console was insane. But I'm not here to talk about that right now. I'm here to talk about my overall thoughts on this console after using it since launch. So let's start off by talking about the system itself. The Switch 2 system is pretty good. The hybrid console form Nintendo has been using is my favorite form of console because I can take home console quality games anywhere I go. And as someone who travels a lot, the Switch and Switch 2 are consoles that I have used a ton. Also, the size of the Switch 2 is amazing. While it makes it slightly less portable, it overall makes the system more comfortable to hold and makes playing games for longer stretches of time easier. The Joy-Con are magnetic now. That part is better than the Switch one because of the click that the Joy-Cons make, but is overall superfluous. However, the fact that the Joy-Cons can still drift is bad. While mine haven't drifted yet, I don't want to go out and spend $100 on new Joy-Cons or $90 for a new Pro Controller if they're just going to eventually end up drifting. Speaking of the Pro Controller, I haven't bought it yet because I'm going to wait and see if I can see it secondhand for cheap. Other than that, I'm not going out and buying a slightly better Switch 1 Pro Controller for $90. However, on a more positive note, the technical upgrades are amazing. 4K 60 FPS in dock mode, or 1080p 120, and 1080p 120 FPS in handheld. This jump feels amazing. In handheld mode, games feel so crisp to look at on the smaller screen, along with feeling incredibly smooth. On top of that, if you have a huge TV, games like Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Kirby Air Riders are all beautiful to look at. However, it won't be beautiful to watch as all the money flies out of your wallet because those games will cost you your kidney. When it comes to Switch 2 games, they fall into 3 types. There are games that are fully physical. These games are fully on the cartridge. For example, games like Donkey Kong Bonanza and Mario Kart World. Then there are game keycards. These give you an empty cartridge that has a license to download said game to the cartridge. Games like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Sonic X Shadow Generations, and every third-party game on Switch 2. Sure, there are some exceptions like Cyberpunk, Yooka-Replay, and Sonic Racing Crossworlds, but almost every other game is available on a keycard, which really sucks. Even if you don't care about the preservation aspect, imagine you go to buy a game keycard on a trip, and then you pop it in on a long train ride. Well, you wouldn't be able to play the game you just bought because you have to download it, and you have no internet, which kinda defeats the point of a hybrid console that you can take anywhere. Lastly, there are Switch 2 Edition games, and these are just Switch 1 games bundled in with the $10 to $20 upgrade pack. These are fine, I guess, but they just have this ugly text at the bottom denoting that it's a Switch 1 game bundled with an upgrade, and it messes up the whole look of the box. However, I think it's time I start talking about the actual games. Starting with Mario Kart World. Mario Kart World is the series' charge jump to the open world genre, and I think it's a solid first attempt. The wall riding and rail grinding are amazing additions to the tracks. Knockout Tour is pretty fun, especially with friends, and the fact that I can play as a Cataquack is amazing. However, Nintendo killing the online sucked, intermissions were kind of lackluster, and the free roam could have used a bit more meat on its bones. Overall, it's a really solid game, but not worth $80 solid. Then there's Donkey Kong Bonanza. This is my game of the year, so it's not a surprise that I would say that it's worth a purchase, especially if you already own a Switch 2 and don't already have it. Like, what is wrong with you? It's one of the best 3D platformers of all time. The braking mechanic is so freeing, Pauline is an amazing addition that brings so much heart and passion into the game. The Bonanzas are extremely fun to use and well designed, Void Kong is a really great villain, and on top of that, the visuals are just beautiful. My only problem with the game are frame drops. Other than that, it's peak gaming. Just ignore the rip-off $20 DLC that I do not plan on buying, unless if there's a rare sale. Then there's Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. To keep this short, the story is trash, the gameplay is amazing, the visuals are fine, and the soundtrack is excellent. Overall, should be renamed to Not Worth $70. Then there's Kirby Air Riders. This game is extremely overhyped. People act like this game is carrying Nintendo and saying that's the antithesis of modern gaming. However, that doesn't necessarily make it good. I'm not saying that the game is bad, but for people claiming it has so much content, Well, how come there really isn't that much? The track selection is pretty decent. There are some cool tracks here like Wayflow Waters, Mount Amberfall, that one Nova track that is basically the game's Rainbow Road, but half of them just returned from the original Air Ride, and not all of them are winners. Then there's Top Ride, which I don't think anyone plays except to just boast how much content is in the game, because it kinda sucks. Then City Trial is cool, but it's only one map, and it's not exceptionally big or anything. While the events kinda spice it up, it generally isn't that interesting. Then the minigame after City Trial events kinda spice it up, but overall, it's kinda just like uninteresting. However, Road Trip is really cool, no complaints there. The roster is also missing some characters. We have Rick, but what about Kyne and Ku? On top of that, where's Elphalin? And I could forgive all of the complaints I listed. I could forgive the tracks being so-so overall. I could forgive them not including Elphalin, Kyne, and Ku. I could forgive Top Ride kind of being bad. I could forgive there being one City Trial map if they just included Adeline and Ribbon, but they're not here. Why? The soundtrack is really good though, and the visuals are some of the best on the console. Also, this game's online will probably die out fast because the game doesn't really have the wide appeal that Mario Kart World does, or even technically Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, and there's no incentive to come back through DLC. I know people are saying no DLC is a good thing, all the content is here or whatever, but there are right ways to do DLC. For example, Smash Bros. Ultimate's Fighter Pass, which was an amazing way to bring players back, on top of a game that was stacked to the brim with content. Or Xenoblade 2's DLC, which was such a huge expansion that they sold it separately. Also, the game is nowhere near $70. This game ain't worth $10 more than frickin' Smash Bros. Ultimate. That's all the first-party Switch 2 games. The lineup is pretty solid. While it isn't perfect, I have issues with most of the games I'll display, that doesn't mean it's bad. This is without mentioning the third-party games. There are so many great games available to buy that run better than ever. Hollow Knight, Silksong, Hades 2, Cyberpunk 2077, Fast Fusion, Shadow Labyrinth, Sonic X Shadow Generations, Pac-Man World 2 Repack, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, Street Fighter 6, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, Yakuza 0, Persona 3 Reload, Yooka-Laylee, Assassin's Creed Shadow, Star Wars Outlaws, and so many more on the horizon. Then there's the Switch 2 Edition games. These ones are alright. When it comes to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they should have been free upgrades. Then Jamboree TV was a scam that didn't even upgrade the game and added some iToy level minigames. Then Kirby and the Forgotten Land was a solid expansion that could have used a bit more content. Then Pokemon and Metroid didn't even have Zelda notes or something, so there's no excuse for the paid upgrade. Speaking of paid, the prices of Switch 2 stuff sucks, no matter how you slice it. There's just so many overpriced items. $80 games, $100 controllers, $50 camera, $100 Virtual Boy, $30, $40, even $50 amiibo. Remember when amiibo were like $8? And on top of that, these items will never go on sale, at least by Nintendo themselves, for a long time. So if you want to play Nintendo games, or modern Nintendo games I should say, you will be stuck paying these awful prices. That's the only reason I wouldn't recommend the Switch 2, unless if you're a hardcore Nintendo fan who enjoys pretty much everything the company puts out. If you're a casual fan who only likes 3D Mario, 3D Zelda, and Smash Bros., then don't buy the Switch 2. It's not worth paying these prices. Even if you are a hardcore Nintendo fan, I would suggest seeing if you can find deals on non-Nintendo websites. For example, stores that might be marking down the prices of games or accessories. So, yeah, that's how I'm feeling about the Switch 2. Hopefully this console fails, so we can get Wii U era pricing again.